Hi, welcome to Mind Whispering the Whisper Way. I'm your host, Dan McBee. I help people convert their negative mind to, I butchered it up already. I help convert people, I help people convert their worst enemy, their mind, into their best friend. And the way we do that is with a product called Whispers. Now, you might wonder what Mind Whispering the Whisper Way is all about. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But what we talked about in our introduction was the fact that we would be talking about electrosmog and how it affects you. And that's a story that is quite lengthy, but we'll get into it week after week, I promise. So, to begin with, I want to give you a little history of myself so you can understand why you would trust what I have to say. When I was in my 20s, I had absolutely no self esteem. I could go into the history of why that is, but you'd probably fall asleep listening to it all. But I had no self esteem. I had a mind that was developed into a very critical mind, and it would never shut up, telling me what a loser I was, and how stupid I was, and how ugly I was, and how I was never going to accomplish a thing. And that was my mind. The mind is the closest thing to you. It's with you 24 hours a day. It even haunts you in your sleep, if it's anything like my mind was, right? So when my first wife decided she had had enough and smartly left me, I knew it was time for me to go on a journey of self discovery. You see, I knew my mind was my problem, but I didn't know how to fix it. Though I was a strong believer in positive thinking, I couldn't consistently stay there. My mind would always interrupt and stop whatever was moving in the right direction, and self sabotage would strike once again, right? So I was really determined that I was going to figure out what the problem was. I went to psychiatrists, I went to psychologists. By the way, I developed the idea that drinking would be a great idea to shut the mind down because drugs weren't working and sex wasn't working and food wasn't working and everything I tried wasn't working in quieting my mind. Then a friend of mine who was involved in crystals had gone to a scientist's house and learned about crystals that he worked with. And she suggested that I bring him in to speak to a group. I was a hypnotherapist at the time, and one of my jobs was to bring speakers into the meetings to talk about different modalities of healing because I knew I wanted to help people. I wanted to be of service, but I didn't know what that was, right? So I invited him to come speak to our group. He talked about how things like electricity and microwaves and energy from people and energy from appliances, that all of these things have an adverse effect to our very soft, subtle, natural body. And he used dowsing rods to demonstrate how our energy field would expand or reduce based on what we were bringing into our energy field, the people, the places, the things we ate, the things we drank, the things we thought. He would have one person think kind, loving thoughts, and you could see his energy field open up. You'd have another person think about all the awful things in life, and you could just watch his energy field shrink, right? And then he would hand the person that was doing the demo, doing the demonstrating, he would hand them this little disc that he had and say, "Here, see what happens when you hold this." And their energy field would expand out like 30 feet, right? And no matter what was, whether they put a pack of cigarettes at their solar plexus or said horrible things to the guy or whatever the case might be, his energy stayed strong. And I had been studying the energy of people for quite some time. So this kind of made sense to me, right? And I had tried, like I said, I tried everything: food, drugs, sex, alcohol. I abused every single one of them. I would only get maybe a moment's peace at best. And so when I watched that demonstration, it made total sense to me, because I used to wonder, like, if you ever stand near a welding machine and just feel the energy that came off of that, or stand under high tension, or drive a car and have that static come over your radio as you're going under high tension wires. And I had to think that that kind of energy must have some kind of effect on us. So after he gave his demonstration, which I thought was just amazing, I walked up to introduce myself, because I had only spoken to him on the phone. And as I'm walking up to him, he says, "Here, I'm supposed to give you one of these." And I said, "Give it to me?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to give you one." And I said, "What do I do with it?" He said, "Put it in your pocket and see what happens." I said, "That's it?" He said, "Yeah, put it in your pocket, see what happens." So I put it in my pocket, and I noticed that I was feeling really calm, kind of like how I would feel if I had taken a Valium, right? I mean, that was the solution that the doctors would give you. "Well, you're all full of anxiety and you're stressed out, take a Valium." But the problem with Valiums was it made my speech awful, and my head all numb, so I couldn't really think very well at all. Anyway, I put that in my pocket, and I'm driving home, and I feel like I'm more relaxed than I had ever been up to that point. It was just amazing. I couldn't even imagine what was going on. And he also told me to put it under my pillow and it'll change my dreams. So I did that. I went home, I put it under my pillow, and I slept deeper than I had slept in a long time. Now, through my journey, I had heard the saying often that if you find somebody that has what you want, hang around them, they'll help you get it. And what I wanted was a life based on service. I wanted a life based on spirituality, and I wanted to live comfortably financially. And this man embodied all of those qualities. So I did that. I hung around him as much as he would possibly allow me to do, right? So I learned all about the technique. I learned all about the product. I I would go to not psychic fairs, but health fairs, right? Alternative health fairs where people would be doing massage or Reiki or whatever the modality of healing work was. Card readers, psychics, all those kinds of people would be at those things. And I would offer balancings with these. And in the very beginning, I didn't have any air of knowledge. In fact, I would lay them on the floor or on a massage table, and I'd put these little things that look like hockey pucks on different parts of their body, and I would spin out their energy, and I would just the way I would read it out of a book. I actually had a little tiny book that I read that showed me how to do these little exercises, right? And people would get up off the table or off the floor or wherever it was that we had done the balancing. And they would be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe how good I feel. How much do I owe you?" Well, because I didn't have any self-worth at that point, I'd say, "Oh, you don't have to pay me. I'm just learning how to do this," right? Turn money down, then go home and wonder how I was going to pay the rent. That's the way I was at that point. So that was the beginning for me. Now, to go back a little tiny bit, I missed a part that's really important for you. After he gave me that one hockey puck and told me to wear it and see what happens, the next morning I called him and I asked if I could come over because I really wanted to learn more about this work. So I got to his house and he had fixed dinner for us, right? So we had a nice dinner and a nice little chat. And he then proceeds to direct me to lay on my side in the living room floor. And he put one of those hockey pucks between my knees and one in each hand and had me cross over like this. And laying on my side, he had me pull up into the fetal position. Now I'm facing out towards his pool. And I'm laying there thinking, what in the world have I gotten myself into? And it's light out as I'm watching, looking out the window, right? And this man is out there with his hose washing down his pool deck. Now, I don't know about you, but the idea of doing work where I don't have to physically do a whole lot and have a major impact on people's lives sounded like a pretty good idea to me after I thought about it for a while, right? So anyway, I'm laying on my side, looking out at him washing his pool deck, and the next thing I know, it's dark out, and I don't know how long I've been laying there. But I get up and I called his name and didn't hear anything. Look outside and it's pitch black out. So I get up and I called his name, no response. I walked out to where the back patio was, nothing there, but I hear more water running. And it's coming from his driveway where he's washing down his Corvette. And as I get up off of the floor, to back up just a little tiny bit again, as I'm getting up off the floor, I realize I have absolutely no tension anywhere in my body. My emotions were extremely calm and peaceful. My mind absolutely quiet. Now, maybe you all feel that way, although I doubt it. If you're watching this video, whether it's on the recording or live, by the way, for those of you watching on the recording, thank you very much. And for you here with us today, thank you for joining us. And so I get up off the floor, and I've got all this calmness going, right? And I go outside to meet him, and he goes, "How are you doing?" I said, "Oh my God, George, that's the most amazing thing I've ever experienced." And he said, "Yeah, I know. It's pretty great." And so he's walking me to my car because, again, it's dark out, right? And I realized at that very moment that I had found the work that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Because anything that could make a person feel that good had to be something I really wanted to be involved in. And that's what I've done ever since that day. Now, why the mind whispering the whisper way and how that connects with electromagnetic smog? What this man learned was that electromagnetic smog, or back in our day, we called it electromagnetic fields, is an energy that showers off of electricity. And it's an incoherent energy, meaning that it showers out in different directions. It's kind of like a meteor field. And when that energy hits our bodies, because we have more than one body, believe it or not, we have a mental body of energy, we have an emotional body of energy, and we have a physical body of energy. Because energy really is what we are. Our physical body is just for us to have identification purposes, right? So these energies, our physical, emotional, and mental energies, get distorted by this electromagnetic field. And that's why when people get energy balancings, and why when they start wearing whispers and doing treatments that we describe in various videos that you'll have access to in time, they start to feel a more general sense of well-being, a calmness within their mind, a clarity that they've not had before. And even more than that, because we're energetic beings, we've held on to a lot of energy. The disappointments, the frustrations, the angers, the upsets, the traumas that we have in life. In fact, I'll tell a story, maybe not today, but very soon, about an accident experience that a client had. It's very interesting. Gives a great demonstration of what I'm talking about there. So that's why electromagnetic fields cause so much trouble for us, but most people aren't aware that it affects all areas of our bodies, of our physical, emotional, and mental body. It was why, even though I believed in positivity, I couldn't stay anchored in it. My mind was racing out all the time. See, meditation is a great tool. And back in our ancestors' days, meditation the gurus would sit in caves for months on end and just meditate. And what happens when you meditate is you actually create a centrifugal flow of energy from your mind that creates that focus. It draws all your outward energy, and you know how our mind gets scattered in 50,000 different directions. And what the meditation would do is draw all of that energy back to the eye center, where it's our spiritual home. And with that comes great clarity, because we reach up into higher levels of consciousness. So they would sit in caves for months and do that, come out with this clarity and understanding of how everything worked at a level that most of us mere mortals would never understand. And then they would go out and talk with people and share all this information, and people would be all, gathering around them, and all that energy would bring them back down until they were lost, just like the rest of us once again. Great examples for me about why this work was so important, because I've seen devices out there that people sell for electromagnetic smog that you can plug into your radio, or some that I saw a video that talked about the suggestion that you move your alarm clock away from your bed at night, and that'll make a big difference. I actually saw a video where a woman said that you could meditate 5 minutes a day and everything will be perfect. Really? Okay. Anyway, the point with the whisper work is that you have tools that you can wear, that you can put in your home to correct the energy of your home, to correct the energy of your workplace, so that the soft, smooth energy field that we operate best in, like when we're in a real positive environment, a lot of love, a lot of happiness, a lot of peace, right? That's what we resonate at. And it's hard to keep that in this chaotic world we're living in today. So I wanted you to understand the importance of electrosmog. It is a serious issue, but the problem is, and here's the real kicker to this whole thing, electrosmog, the energy of it by itself is not the problem. And a lot of people talk about the intensity of the energy, the frequency range, the hertz, the strength of the energy. And the body can handle that. What it can't handle is that chaoticness of the energy. So that's where whispers differ from a lot of different products that are out there. Some of them will resonate to the Schumann resonance, and some will have different kinds of claims and things like that. And I'm not knocking any of them. Anything that helps us, awesome, right? But if this makes sense to you, if you have a mind that's driving you crazy, you're working too hard. As I've gotten more seasoned in life now, you get to realize that life really is short. When you're in your 20s and 30s, it's like, hey, party time, right? This is going to go on forever. But it doesn't. Besides that, it's the quality of your life that's affected by all of this energy. All of the hate, all of the chaos, all of the fear, all of the stress of daily life, trying to put food on the table, trying to raise a family, trying to figure out what's going on with yourself, right? And that was one of the greatest things I've experienced through the years of doing this work, is watching how fast people grow within themselves. They let go of that self-critical mind that's constantly telling them they can't accomplish anything. See, we do life backwards. We think if we get the right partner, if we get the right house, if we get the right job, if we hit the lottery, right, then we're going to be happy, and then we'll have peace of mind. but it's the wrong direction. It's like heading towards New York when you're trying to go to Hawaii. It's going to take you a long time to get there. The best way is to get your mind calm, train your mind to be your best friend. So instead of telling you constantly why you can't do anything, why you can't accomplish anything, why you feel so terrible about yourself, when your mind should be telling you what an awesome person you are, how you can do anything you set your mind to, how you never give up. You, as many times as things have gone wrong, you keep on going. Those are the kinds of messages you need to hear from your own mind. You shouldn't allow anyone in your life to treat you that way. So why do we allow our minds to do that? So because I came from a place of zero self-esteem, because I came from a place of a mind that was beating me up constantly, and because I had that drive and that passion to find out what was wrong with me, I have the experience of how you go through that journey and how to get there quicker and easier. I didn't have someone. I had my mentor who would beat me up in a different way because he says, I don't have time to pussyfoot with you. I got to get you straightened out right away. And so he was a tough teacher, but a great teacher. I love him to death. But my goal is to do this work and help as many people as I can to get to experience the joy and happiness that I get to experience today. And I have for a long time now. I have moments where I have a little fear, a little doubt, a little question mark about what's going on in my world, right? We all do. That's natural. But it's only moments now. It's not that all-encompassing dread that used to just tear me apart, make me drink, make me want to pass out so that I didn't have to feel anymore. Today, I get to experience a lot of joy. And that's what I'm here for, is to help you, if this makes sense to you, if it makes sense that there's something going on that's kept you from getting where you want to go, this might be something for you to look at. If you're interested in doing that, I can give you a few things to look at. Here's, I'm going to put some banners for you to look at. Here is my website, justwhisper.net. Here's my email, danmcbee@justwhisper.net. Here's my phone number. You can call me direct. We'll talk when, whenever we can. We'll sit and talk and just cover any questions you might have. By the way, our next session is going to be something very interesting for you. It's about the Electrosmog and the Roman Empire. Yeah, right? That sounds interesting, doesn't it? So I hope you'll join us for that. What else have I got for you here? My favorite quote. Now, I used to misquote this because, first of all, I thought it was a Walt Whitman saying. I used to always say Walt Whitman's favorite saying was, "The huddled masses live in quiet desperation." Well, that wasn't the quote at all, right? But I used that all the time because it resonated. The mass of men live in quiet desperation. And it's by Henry David Thoreau. He wrote that in 1854. Now, I wanted to put that date in there because if that was the observation he was getting of people back then, just think what he would think about the way people live today. But you see, most of us are taught that you fake it until you make it, right? So you walk around with this smile on your face, and because you don't want people to know what a turd you think you are. You don't want people to know that you think you're ugly and fat and stupid and all these different things that you've been telling yourself forever, that you've been allowing your mind to tell you forever. So here's the truth. A self-critical mind is self-abuse. Just like eating too much, drinking too much, having too much sex. I don't know that you can have too much, but I guess you can. But if you're using any of those things inappropriately, it's self-abuse. If you're not treating yourself as the child of God that you are, that's self-abuse. I hope you'll think about that for yourself. Because you see, God created no grandchildren. We're all his children, regardless of whether you're Republican or Democrat, black or white or green, or whatever religion you might follow, or whatever country you came from, or whatever your beliefs are. You're a child of God. And that's the highest species on earth. Why in the world would you treat something God made special in such a bad way? And I'm saying that because I did that. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to have that quiet desperation where you don't know who you are. You don't remember who you are. You don't remember how special you are because that critical self-mind has given you those dark glasses that sees everything in a negative vent, especially yourself. You see, I got to learn that life, the outer experience of life, is a direct reflection of how you feel on the inside. So if you are self-critical, you're going to tend to be critical of others. If you're impatient with yourself, you're going to be impatient with others. If you think you're ugly, you're going to see the ugliness of others. Kind of reminds me of that movie, Shallow Hal, right? Where, he fell in love with this girl and you thought she's the most beautiful woman in the world. And then what he came to realize was that that was the view he was putting on this girl who wasn't thin in any way. You've all seen the movie. If not, stream it. But that's the whole point, is that as we change inside ourselves, as we learn to embrace the specialness that we are, and enjoy the joy that we can have in every single day, and be happy. Because you see, happiness is a choice. It's not about what's going on the outside world. It's about what's going on in you. So if you're having a miserable day, you chose it. Do we have things to go wrong in a day? Absolutely. But what I had to learn was to enjoy wait a minute, let me get that right. I needed to learn to have short-term suffering. That I could have a moment of discomfort, I could have a moment of sadness, I could have a moment of frustration, whatever the case might be. But if I extend that out for the entire day, heck, I used to extend it out for months and years, right? But now I'm into short-term suffering because I like feeling good. It's a great feeling, and it affects everyone around you. My daughter, who I'm sure you'll see again on these live shows, she and I did what we called the Power Hour every Monday some months ago. And we would always end our show with, if you see somebody without a smile, what should you do? And her reply would be, give them one of mine. And I go, why would you do that? And she said, because it makes me feel good and it makes them feel good. And it's free. It doesn't cost anything. It's one of those amazing gifts from God. So we're gonna end here pretty soon, but I just wanted to recap a little bit about why Mind Whispering the Whisper Way is about electrosmog, right? Because if you're trying is back in my journey, I would go to motivational seminars, and you've probably all been to one. If not, God, you ought to do it just for the experience, right? But these guys are great at hyping you up and telling you how wonderful you are, and you can accomplish this, and by God, go do it. And you run out the door, and you're all excited, and then that critical mind gets in there and starts yanking on you again, right? And that's that spiral. And the worst part about that is that every time you think you're really getting there and you're making progress, and then you fail. It's called self-fulfilling prophecy. If you think you're going to fail, guess what? You're going to fail. If you think you're going to succeed, doesn't it make sense you'd have a much better chance of doing that if you had that mindset instead of the one that says you're going to fail because that's what you always did in the past? Self-fulfilling prophecy. So by wearing the whispers, we correct that electromagnetic field that's causing all of this static in our head and in our emotions and in our physical body so that everything starts to calm down. So you can start thinking more rationally and more consistently in the way you want to think instead of the way your mind has taken over. The mind was supposed to be your servant. You see, who you are is soul. Your mind is supposed to be your servant. It's supposed to do the things you need done. Like now we all are, all excited about AI, and we can say, AI, give me this information, and the AI pukes out whatever stuff it's going to puke out. And you go, oh, isn't that amazing? Well, we have our own AI, right? But we don't use it right. We should be telling our mind of what we want to think, how we want it to think. The mind was supposed to be a warning device to warn us of potential danger that was coming up and give us information when we requested it. But nobody, I don't know if any of you have, please let us know in the comment box. And by the way, if you like what you're hearing, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe and if you maybe hit those the heart messages or something, one of those things, right? But nobody told me growing up that you have to train your mind. I just thought the mind does what it does, and I became its hostage. Didn't even know there was a different way. So with the whispers, this is a whisper. Let me see where you can see it here. This is a whisper here. It looks like a little heart-shaped thing. That's on purpose. I designed it that way to remind us of where we want to live. We want to live with a nice, happy heart. And then we have the tester that we use for clearing out the energies that are blocked up within our bodies. And we have training courses that teach you all of that. And we have the house filter that I'll demonstrate to you another day. But that's why the whisper work works to quiet your mind. With the training that we help you go through to get that mind, to soothe the savage beast, and the whispers to help us, excuse me, to release the blocked energies that are keeping us all chaotic, and then release those dramas and traumas that we talked about earlier, and we'll explain more of that in future videos as well. You will begin to really master your life. And your mind will be your best friend and assist you in accomplishing the goals you have in life. So I hope this video was helpful for you. I would love to hear comments from you. Excuse me. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you think I'm crazy, if you think I'm a charlatan, we did some test videos, and it's amazing some of the comments people would make about, oh, this is phony, this is too expensive, this is that and the other, and whatever. Okay. But if this resonates to you at all, let me know. I'm here to help. So until next time, take good care. Practice training your mind. And I look forward to talking to you next time. Good night.